Wait, we can do
randomly,
that?
yeah, we use this instead of the in-game audio.
Ah,
Yeah.
ah. That's
And there are actually a lot of
something.
there are actually quite a few like big personalities and creators who create Discord networks. And as you can see above you, so it says general and whatnot. You can have a bunch of different channels, and you can have
Yeah.
one just for
Uh-huh.
fans, while everything else is private. So fans
So
can literally
that
just pop into Discord and talk to other fans of yours or other fans of
so
that person.
one, it sounds like it's a Slack channel, but not for work, which is cool. And two,
Yes.
Yes.
remember that drama T channel I follow? So it's called Primink, and he has a Discord channel, and I was like, I don't know what that is. So now I get it. Okay.
Let me just kick out a social saying we're going live. So
Mm-hmm.
we're technically live on YouTube already, but let's get more people
Ooh.
in.
Oh snap! Don't curse.
Oh.
Yes.
Don't demonetize. From what I hear, it's the first minute. So the first minute of any video, they don't want like the transcription doesn't want to see curse words or anything controversial. It's at that point that well, after 1 minute, it's kind of okay.
Yeah. So
Not that we will.
did you manage to get the link running for that Inuicaster thing?
Let me get to that. I just remembered because I was so busy figuring out this thing right here.
Uh,
Coming in.
so basically, this little teddy bear here is going to be recording all our audio as separate files, as
Ooh.
basically a multi stream session. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so after that it'll be easier to process. So like last time when we did the hangouts with Isa, we actually had to have her send us over the audio. And we
Yeah.
found this in Discord, so we defaulted to Discord now.
Nice.
That's
Yeah, I'm watching it
cool.
right now. It's able to it can tell my levels pretty quickly.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm digging
This
this.
is cool. Maybe we should figure this out.
Well, we already have StreamYard. This
Yeah, but I
audio
mean,
recording thing would be
remember.
fine.
Yeah, but remember, we have different chat on Telegram.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Uh, so we created this particular server just for the Tech and Tonic podcast sessions.
By
Is
the way,
this free?
which one came first, Tekken Tonic or Tekken T?
Tech and T. So we just started
You
this
are a
this
good
year.
host. Oh my god.
Is this count? This is carbonated water. Isn't that technically tonic?
Yep,
Yeah,
technically
good, good.
is.
I'm ready, folks. I'm ready for this broadcast.
Don't know, can't see you. Wait, I wanna watch. I wanna watch. What's happening? Okay, wait.
uh,
I accidentally turned on a game on my phone. Okay. I'm good. Let me find your.
I am tagging you in a post with the link.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Is that a little teddy bear on this thing? It looks like a. I don't know what that is, but it is cute. So you're
Teddy
right.
bear? I'm not seeing the teddy bear.
Are you in the caster link
Nope.
that's recording audio? Well, then again, she's on the phone again, Jivan. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So she can see it if she pulls out the burger menu.
Burger? These
burger
are a
menu.
lot of funny
What are all these
terms. What
things?
is
Yeah.
going on?
Is these are things I learned when I was doing content. So when you know the three lines that make the menu,
That's what you
yeah,
mean. The burger
that's
bun.
what
Oh
Oh,
my
that's what
yeah.
we
god.
call the burger menu.
I see.
One,
I
I
have
learned
heard that
something
before.
new. I've never heard that before, but thank you.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Okay, I'm gonna pull up the live link right now, just so I have something to look at.
All right, let's see this link.
Yep. It
Oh,
should
sorry,
be
sorry for my
everywhere.
keyboard, by the way.
No worries.
Oh my god, Javon. It's not gonna stop. It's never gonna stop.
Well, I have my Logitech here, so I
Oh
just
yeah.
ordered this because I needed to put the laptop a little bit higher,
hmm
and I didn't bring back my Razer keyboard in the office.
Yeah, I was very close to getting that keyboard actually because it connects to mobile devices also. So does
Yeah.
this, but not quite as smoothly. Let's put it. Um, Funny story. Actually, you know what? I'll tell this anecdote during my intro. I'll
Sure.
save it for the intro.
Yep.
But let me see here. Let me open up this link. Oh yeah, we are live.
Yeah, where let me get the chat out so we can monitor
Oh, this
chat
is
as well.
so cool.
Oh, so you're streaming out your oh, hold on. Maybe I
Discord.
Yeah, so it's streaming Discord to YouTube right now. Darwin is basically streaming his screen.
uh-huh.
So yeah, that's what we're seeing on YouTube.
Wow, this is fantastic. This is pretty cool. Is this more or less
Yeah.
like a screen share?
Yep, pretty
Ah,
much.
this is nice.
Hello, Joey T. Hey, Joey. So Joey is a friend of ours from real life.
Hi, Joey.
From our outside lives.
Yeah.
All right,
So shall
retweet.
we
Let me keep this.
shall
Yeah.
we start at about 11:15 ish?
Hey, I'm down. We're down to start whenever I feel like. But also
Yeah.
if we're just gonna be in the chat, say what's up to everybody in the chat. How's it going, everybody?
Yeah.
What's
Um,
going on, everybody?
did you see my tweet that the comment that someone put in my video, my iPhone
I
SE
actually
video?
saw
I
that on your
I saw that
video.
on your I think on your Insta story.
Yeah, yeah, I threw it on there as well. That got a laugh from me. I don't really laugh at comments very often, but that one actually got a laugh from me.
Yeah. Hey, Darren.
Why does Darren feel marginalized?
Wait.
No.
Darren is also a friend, so he's been following the podcast for quite a while.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so these two have been listening in every week, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Oh my god, Joey, you should have heard me. I didn't know what Discord was. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how I hang out with my homies down in San Diego, and they're pretty much always playing very specific games, the Division 2 in particular. And
Nice.
they always have this whole thing of like because I don't play with them very often. I'm not much of a multiplayer guy. And the moment I get triggered every time I hear words like, I'll hard carry you, I'll carry you, we'll level you up real quick, blah blah blah. And I'm like, just leave me
What?
alone. Let me play Final Fantasy VII. It's a single player game. I just want to, I just want my relaxing time by myself.
Yeah, I
Hard carrying somebody, babe, is when people who are much higher level than you, they take you on difficult parts of the game
Mhm.
so that you can get all of that experience points into your character really quickly. Like they pretty
yep.
much just they just protect you throughout the entire mission.
So it's
So if
like a
I'm
collab.
kind of so like we go on a mission and I'm level, like, let's say I'm level, just throwing numbers out there, I'm level 20 and they're level 30, but they take me on a level 30 mission. I would die like that, but they are keeping me alive. And then when I'm out of it, I go from level 12 to like level 20 immediately because we got through that crazy
Isn't
mission.
that like cheating?
Yeah, and you get
No,
crazy amounts of loot.
yeah, the loot as well. It is technically cheating, but the thing is, in a multiplayer game, when you know a lot of people, I mean, that's just what happens. The thing that pisses me off about the way that they do this, though, is they just blast us through all of the narrative and the story because they've played it a billion times and they just want me to get high level so that I can join them on raids and stuff like that. And the whole time we're running through, I'm hearing dialogue. I'm like, shouldn't I be paying attention to this? And they're all like, no, just run, just run.
Oh,
It's so annoying.
I know what you mean. So I usually play Diablo 3 with a few friends. And when I first started off playing multiplayer, yes, I was being carried everywhere.
I have no idea. Joshua knows this. I'm like, cool game.
Yeah, I tried so hard, Jivan, to get her into one of the best games of all time. But I get
What?
it.
Which
There's a steep learning curve to RPGs if
Which
you've never
one?
played them before.
Which
I tried to get
one?
Issa into Chrono Trigger.
Oh
Okay,
my god,
so that
Isa,
game
you
Tried
is
so
need to
hard.
hard.
play Chrono Trigger.
I did, but then I got stuck like the next 10 minutes and then I just couldn't leave. And then I was just like, this is too hard.
Which made me realize like there's okay, so this could be even a topic for the future. Either here or in me and Issa's podcasts. But like
Yeah, we were supposed to have a podcast, Javan, but my laptop broke, so I'm just sitting here with all the phones.
yeah. Um seeing how Issa had trouble getting into Chrono Trigger, it made me realize that like people talk about this not often, but they have talked about this phenomenon. And the only type of term I can think of for it is there's a certain like gamer IQ that people have, in the sense that when you come into a game that you've never played before, but you are experienced with video games, you have an idea of what to do. So for me to put someone like Issa, who didn't even know what the term RPG meant,
Hey, I know what RPG was. It's role-playing game. I just didn't
still,
realize what it was. Like I knew what the letters stood for. I just didn't know what it was.
yeah,
It
like,
could
but there's no
stand. It could stand for rocket propelled grenade as well.
that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know
But that's
that.
the thing. Like, she didn't really have the certain experience in the game to know that, oh, I can like hit A on this, or I run this way, or there's a certain like, there's certain moves that you make in order to figure out where you're going. Like, that was there's something I have always kind of known about, but it was my first time actually experiencing that phenomenon with Issa.
I mean, okay. The thing is, remember when we went to your guru's party and we went to an arcade, and that was my first time in an arcade.
Yeah.
So that's me. So I mean, maybe other people are better at it, but like I have weird stuff like never ever playing in an arcade ever before. So that's also something that might contribute to that.
Wasn't it great saying in the chat? Nick is a homie from here. He's editor in chief of Fandroid.
Oh,
Jivan.
nice.
So you got
Hey,
Nick
Nick.
Gray in here. What's he saying?
Oh my
Josh needs a
God,
lot
Nick.
of help. What the heck?
I mean,
We might rehash this anecdote during the actual show in a couple of minutes. But Jivan, do you remember the first time you and I met in Taipei? Because of this quarantine, I am on track to look the way I did back then. I'm gonna have my long hair again soon.
My hair is out of control. I've literally brushed it like 5 times since I was getting ready, because it will just poof up suddenly.
You know what? I'm lucky.
Oh,
I'm
you
lucky that I
guys.
have a lot of experience growing my hair out because I just do it on random times every like year or two. So like now I don't have a problem. I'm cool. Like if it grows out, I'm not gonna complain because there's no reason for me to.
So like
I'm watching
I've
this video
even
so we
taken this
listen,
from my mom so I can work without the hair getting into my face.
Is that a headband? What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
a headband. Yeah.
I love it.
Hey, Julian.
What is Joey saying here? Oh, if you have the time, just
Yeah,
catch.
that's what I want. So, okay, just fair warning. I
Mm-hmm.
am listening to the audio and it's happening and then there's a lag for the video. So I was like, what is going on in this
Maybe
conversation?
mute the video. Maybe.
Yeah.
No, the video is muted. It's just that I'm a very visual person and I was
Oh.
trying to react to you guys talking like visually, but then the audio, there's like it's not what you were talking about in the audio, and I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
What?
So
We
the
had this
stream.
problem. The last time Issa did a live on Instagram, she also wanted to do a live on Facebook at the exact same time. Here's the
Yep.
problem. Here's the problem though. If you're only using phones, phones treat video calls as real calls, and why would you ever mute a real call? That's just not a function in a phone.
Yeah.
So I had to have two earbuds in to make sure no audio was coming out of either phone into the audio. So I had two different. I had two Isas in my ear, one second after the other. It was a
You
weird
know,
experience.
I
you
I think
thank
I was
you.
I think I jumped into that live like
Oh, that's
after.
right.
Yeah. That was funny though. I would it like certain people would realize that you have two earbuds in that two different earbuds.
It's not like shoes where you can mismatch them and it's kind of cool. In this
Yeah.
case, it's like, what is going on over there?
Ooh, Jam is watching.
Jam is in the
Jam,
house.
yeah, Jam is from jamonline.ph.
Jam, it's not like he's in the chat, not like he's in the call, but I just want to say, like, Jam, at the end of your videos, you have to start saying you just got jammed.
Oh my god, that's awesome. He should. So I was just about to say, Jam has the best name for branding. His name
Yes.
is Jam, and his website is Jam Online. And it's like Jam Online can be any, and it would still work.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish I had a name like.
Nope. All right. Are we good? Oh, by the way, just so you know, like if you're nervous about if you're nervous about hosting, just ask Isa. I have this weird because I've hosted podcasts for years by now. I'm always like there's always like a weird work mentality that I have. So I saw 8:15 for
Yeah.
my time frame. I'm like, oh, are we good? Are we ready? Are we gonna go?
Yeah.
Jivan, I asked him to go on a live stream and I had a topic just because whatever, but it was such an informal thing that I just planned on us rambling. But then Joshua started hosting. He literally went like, okay, let's go on to your topics. And I'm like, oh yeah, we do have those.
Yeah. My worker voice came in and I was like, oh, so going back to our topic.
Well, it is good to have direction, especially with podcasts. So
Indeed. This is
yeah,
a good rundown, by the way. I'm looking at I have it on the other screen over here.
yeah. So shall we just jump into it then?
Mhm.
Go for it, buddy.
Okay. Hey guys, so welcome to TechEnt's Tech and Tonic podcast. Episodes it's episode 11 this week, and as usual we have me. Darwin is unfortunately not able to join the podcast this week, but we have two very special guests, Joshua Vergara and Isa Rodriguez. So you
Yay!
She
so
can't wave at a camera. She has to chime in.
yeah, I forgot about that. So you may recognize them from around the interwebs. Isa is a tech journalist and YouTuber with a unique perspective on tech. Her content is pretty awesome. She's covering
Oh.
tech from both a fashionista's and a techie's perspective.
Mm.
So, and
Mm.
it's also her second time on our podcast. She's been here before. We also have Joshua Vergara. You should recognize him from a lot of channels on the internet. He is a very prolific tech YouTuber. You may recognize him from Android Authority or currently Pocket Now, or maybe
Mhm.
his own channel, Joshua Vergara, JV Tech T. But he's been busy with his own YouTube channel recently.
Mhm.
So, welcome to the podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Yay!
Look at that. Like
Yay!
Giovanni already spreading the praise around. You got called a fashionista, babe, and I was called a
I
prolific
know!
personality. This is a great show already.
If you only
Well,
knew how I look like these days, I've been living in pajamas.
well, technically, got my interest in this field thanks to Joshua and the videos on Android
Oh.
Authority. So yeah.
Um, well, that's great to hear. I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of questions for us, but I want to throw a question back to you real quick. How are
Mhm.
you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time, and this is my first time on the cast, so I want to see how you guys are.
Well, I'm doing okay. Still sane. We've been in quarantine for about 41 days right now,
Mhm.
and it looks like we may be extending until June. So yeah,
Mm.
another 2 weeks to a month, I think.
Mm.
How about you guys? So it's 41 days of quarantine. Our government named it the movement control order. So
Oh.
you're allowed to go out of your house, but you're not allowed to move around unless you have a valid reason. So there's no driving, no walking around, no going to parks, nothing like that.
Mm.
I think that's the
Uh,
same as ours, but we call it enhanced community quarantine. So it was a community quarantine, and then it became an enhanced community quarantine. Probably next month it will be a super enhanced community quarantine, and the month after that a mega super enhanced community quarantine. I don't know. Who names this?
well, in LA, or rather, well, California, I should say, but I'm in LA, obviously. We call it safer at home. So it's not necessarily like a full lockdown where you literally can't go anywhere. You're still encouraged to actually walk around your neighborhoods, maybe go to a local park, not a big park where big gatherings would be happening. But of course, you have to practice that 6 feet of social distancing and whatnot. Now it's required to have masks on. But overall, even if you are able to go out or have masks on in order to go out, you should just be staying at home. That's why it's safer at home.
Yeah.
What's funny over here, though, is that, coming from LA, and not to say that any of your two locations don't have this. I'm just saying that in LA, we're well known for our traffic and our smog. And both of those things have effectively been eliminated because there's nobody out and about.
Yep.
These are the clearest skies I've ever seen in my lifetime living in LA, and it's fantastic. But yeah, so that's been what's been going on over here.
For
It's
me,
funny.
I can actually see from certain places in my we call it garden or taman.
Mhm.
I can actually see the KL Twin Towers. Before this, I could never see it.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh.
how
But
about
So
in
is
funny
Manila?
story. Like so we've all been quarantined in our house. My sister is a doctor, so she's actually on self quarantine within the house. So she's been in the room beside mine, but we haven't like I've seen her through the door, but like she has been inside her room for like the last 2 days. It's probably been
uh
like what 2 weeks
yeah,
for
so
her.
it's risky to go out for us. Like my dad just had to go to the hospital because he needs to get his meds from the hospital.
No.
Hmm.
And I am actually quite worried about it, but yeah, it's been quite a week with
Yeah.
quarantines. So like when Isa says enhanced community quarantine, for us, enhanced we call it MCO. So the enhanced MCO is basically the government and the army barricading areas, making sure
Oh
that
wow.
there's no movement in and out.
We have checkpoints. So there are passes and there are checkpoints. So like for example, for the pass, you sort of designate a person to go out in your house, and that's my brother for our household. And then like when you go out, they sort of have to check if it's a valid pass or whatever, and then that's when you can go.
So for us, it's just one person in a car.
Yeah,
So
yeah, same.
if there's more than one person, like we've had a few cases where they've actually been fined or put in jail for a certain amount of
Oof.
time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So all that quarantine aside,
Hmm.
it's been a
Mm-hmm.
week in tech. So we've had so many launches this week.
It's been a year. It's been a damn year.
Yeah.
It's like,
So
man, this morning has been a whole year.
y- the tech scene seems to not be stopping even though
Yeah.
the quarantines are in
Yeah,
place.
that's so
So
true.
internationally, Huawei announced the Nova 7 and the new media pad. And we've had Motorola come back into the fold when it comes to flagships with the
Mhm.
Motorola
Mm-hmm.
Edge and Edge Plus. Locally, we had the Vivo V19 and the Xiaomi Mi 10, and as also the OnePlus 8, which I was actually a little surprised because it's been less than a week since it launched internationally, and we're already getting it in Malaysia.
Mm.
Oh,
So,
that's fast.
what has been happening in the tech scene where you guys are?
This crazy thing right here. This would be the number one story for the last week, and what I've been working on all week. I'm holding the iPhone SE the new one. Yes, I got the red edition. I had to. But yeah, this has been like on everyone's mind because all of a sudden Apple is out here trying to put out an iPhone with hopefully top experiences for $399, which is something that the two of you experience a lot in your regions, but this is
Yeah.
unheard of in the US. This is a very
Yeah.
rare occasion.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I was like, finally an iPhone that everybody can afford.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I haven't been the biggest fan of iPhones because of the price point.
Yeah, indeed. That's another story that Issa and I always have is that
Yeah.
one time when Issa was in on this side of the world, she went on vacation with me and my family to Cabo San Lucas. And we're in the resort, and this was when the iPhone, which one was it, babe? It was the 11 or the 10s? I forget.
Which one? What was it?
I don't
Which story
remember
are we
which one it
talking about?
was. Cabo, when I was mad about
Oh,
about
yeah.
I
It's
forget
the
which iPhone it was.
iPhone. It's the iPhone. The one before. So it's the
Oh,
10s.
10s Max.
You
So
had
the
to
iPhone
pre-order
10s
it.
Max, which ultimately turned out to be the phone I liked the least that year. It was my fault. It was my
But
fault
it
for
was
getting the
also
Max.
because you bought it and you were pissed about the money you were
So
spending. That's why you were
it,
not happy
exactly.
with that phone.
This was my first time getting into Apple devices after leaving Android Authority. So here I was, I can get Apple devices, but of course, most people don't get Apple devices early. So so here I am on vacation, dropping $1,400 for this phone. And I was just upset the entire time because I was like,
It was, yeah.
I'm
It
doubling
was
up on the money I'm
funny.
losing.
Yeah, and it was
I
funny because it was me who I am an Apple fan, but like I've been on iPhones before I started reviewing phones, and it was Joshua's brother's girlfriend who was an iPhone user, and we were both excited about him pre-ordering the iPhone, and he wasn't. We were just like, "Yay, new iPhone!"
I was like,
uh,
yay.
so I literally got my dad HP and S7 Edge to pull him out of the Apple ecosystem because he was getting so locked in.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was like, before it gets too far, and he was retiring. So in Malaysia, getting Apple products can be really, really expensive. So I was like, I need to make sure you're out of that ecosystem so that you're not spending money unnecessarily.
Yeah,
It's
indeed.
funny you
If
say that, Javon, because we have a dog named Mac. So my dad was the one who decided, you know what, you all should be switching to Macs. Um, so that's where the love came from. Like now, my dad isn't that big of a fan because he sees like how like the Apple situation has changed. Sort of, he doesn't see it as a brand that innovated as much as it did once upon a time. But like, we're still pretty much an Apple household. I mean, aside from all the phones I've been reviewing and showing people.
yeah,
So
totally.
for me, my household has been a Motorola household since we were young. So my dad used to work in Motorola when I was pretty young, since
Mhm.
I think when I was 3 or 4, and then we went to China where he helped set up a assignment center in China for Motorola at that time before they broke up
Whoa,
into Motorola and Motorola Mobility.
that's
So
cool.
so yeah, when it comes to Motorola phones, our house gets pretty excited, especially my dad.
Well,
Uh,
to that end, I will say I do have we can when we talk about it, I do have the Edge Plus in hand, and
nice.
I do have plenty of thoughts. Just a peek behind the curtain. We're not in the review period yet. There's still
Mm-hmm.
another date at which point reviews will be going out. But I can
Yep.
talk about my thoughts so far. But we can get to that once you're ready.
Yep. So, Isa, what has been
Mhm.
happening in the tech scene in Philippines?
So actually, it would really depend on the brand, and I think what game plan they try, because there are brands that have been releasing stuff, and there are brands who just decided that you know what, we're gonna put stuff on hold. So one particular brand that we've been hearing a lot of would be Huawei. It's still the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, okay, I thought I wasn't on. I was like, wait, am I still on? Okay. So there's Huawei, but then there are brands like we haven't seen anything from Vivo since the lockdown started. We haven't seen anything from Realme since the lockdown started.
Ah,
I think Oppo even delayed their local launches as well.
mhm.
We've been seeing stuff from them, but like if we're talking about actual sales, like we like online even online sales, I think they paused that too. So I think nothing really new. It's just the MateBook X, the MediaPad, and the new watch went on sale online with Huawei. Aside from that, nothing really.
So Darren is in the chat telling us to stop teasing the Edge Plus. So we were talking about the Edge when Motorola made the announcement, and yeah, both of us were pretty excited. It's been a while since we had a Motorola phone in Malaysia, particularly.
Mm.
So yeah, Motorola's
We
back
don't get
with
them in Manila. That's why.
that is interesting though. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Joshua would know how long they've been out of the flagship game better than
It's been a
any one
while.
of us.
It's been a while, and I think the last time that this was a thing, a flagship Motorola that is, was when Moto Mods were a thing. And even then, when the Moto Mods
Ah.
were part of Motorola's library, the last Moto Z that supported them wasn't really a flagship. It didn't have the top processor at the time. I think it was the Z3. I think it was called, or the
Was
Z4. I
was
forget
this
which one
the
it was.
one? Was this
It
the
was the
one with
four.
the thing that has projectors and like
Yes.
Yes.
camera? Okay, I remember that we didn't have that in Manila, and then we had to get them from the US. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, so cool, blah 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 blah. But then like it didn't really click for me.
Mm.
I guess.
I'm actually surprised right now because, like, okay, from my limited let's just say United States facing perspective, Moto has always been a part of the US and Verizon in particular. So when the Edge
Mhm.
Plus was not only announced, but when it arrived on my doorstep, and I was like, what the heck is this thing? And like right next to it was a puzzle. There's actually a 300-piece puzzle sitting on my
What?
table outside that is just a puzzle that when you put it all together, it's a picture of this phone.
What?
Wait. You know what you should do? You should do a Twitch stream of you just trying to figure out the puzzle.
Well, not to give any spoilers, I am going to use that puzzle as my allegory towards like my feelings about this phone. Um, but that said, I always know
Sure.
of these Moto flagships as being a part of Verizon. It's very exclusive to them, and if they actually are released abroad, usually it's under a different branding. But I guess Giovanni, you said that it's Edge and Edge Plus still.
For what we know, we haven't heard of the phones coming to Malaysia just yet.
Ah, got
But
it.
in the past, it's always kept its branding. So we had the Moto Z1 and Z2, I think, in
Hmm.
Malaysia. We've had the Moto G since the G3,
Hmm.
but the most recent one that we've had available officially in Malaysia is the Motorola One Power.
Oh, the
Nothing
One
else after that.
Power.
Yeah.
Man, what a short-lived line.
Yeah. I, I was pretty impressed with that line though, because it was, I think, sub 1,000 ringgit.
Yes.
So, and it had a pretty decent camera.
Mhm.
I didn't have to charge it for 3 days.
It's funny you say that
What?
because this has a is it 45 or 5,000 milliamp hour battery in this thing. Um, it's dead. I haven't used it in a couple of days, so I gotta plug it in. I should
So,
probably do that somewhere over here in a second.
so like the big question now is Motorola still relevant to the current market we're in? We've had big names like Samsung, Huawei, and all releasing
Mhm.
flagships for so long, and we have Oppo coming up with things like the Find X2, which Isa just
Yeah.
released a review of.
Go watch that video.
Yes.
It
Yep.
took a lot.
Yes.
It was a battle for her to get that video out. So y'all should appreciate that
Yeah. Yeah. It
I
really
saw the
was.
Insta stories.
it's out.
It involved like a mini breakdown. Yeah, but no, you're right though. Like that thing, this thing, it's really a flagship. Like it's not all like hot air. I
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
really feel like it will compete in this category.
The thing that Moto tries with every flagship and with some mid-rangers that they've publicized a lot is there's always one specific feature about it that's supposed to be some sort of not game changer, but they're really propping it up. I mean, the Moto
Mhm.
Razr is an obvious one. The Z's were the Moto mods. One Power was they called it hypercharge, I think, was the 45-watt charging, and the battery capacity. In this one, obviously it's Edge. I can't show you because the damn phone's dead, but there's basically what would be the equivalent of something that you two have seen in Asia and that we don't have in many devices here in the US. It's basically the closest thing I've ever seen in the US to a waterfall display.
I've always
So,
found that so funny because like we've seen that so many times that when someone tells me that a phone has it, it's like, okay.
yeah. So there are that in and of itself is going to make this phone very interesting for what I would call carrier users, and carrier users is closer to general users, like people who don't follow the tech trends and whatnot. But when I
Mhm.
say carrier users, it's because they literally will walk into a Verizon, and right now the two phones that make the most sense to them will be the first ones they see, and it's going to be this because Verizon always markets the hell out of Moto, and then it's also going to be the OnePlus 8 because it's the cheapest 5G phone available right now.
And it's pretty colorful. I remember
That
you
too.
said this in another podcast, and I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, that makes so much sense.
It made
So
sense that OnePlus made the OnePlus 8 for Verizon to have that particular hollow color because that's what you see when you walk in the
if
store.
I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, it's their version of this. So
Yes,
I
pretty
have the
much.
Note 10 Plus.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah, so
exactly.
I'm excited because number one, it's technically not even a flagship killer anymore. It's a proper flagship from OnePlus
Yep.
at
Hmm.
flagship pricing. But
Yeah.
when it comes to Motorola, if they decide to come to Malaysia, their pricing when you convert it still gives them an edge over the competition. So it's really interesting to see if they are really going to be coming into Malaysia again. But we have Lenovo here, so I'm not too sure whether they will come into Malaysia under Lenovo or will they just continue to leave Malaysia. And I think they haven't been in the Philippines officially for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
there
They
are there
haven't.
Lenovo branded phones still in Asia? Like I'm
No,
talking, I'm trying to. Oh, not anymore, right?
no
Okay.
more.
Oh
So
man, that was a while ago.
the last time that we had a Lenovo phone, I think it was the Lenovo K or something like that.
Yeah, or Vibe. Was there a Vibe? I'm trying to remember.
Uh,
My
yeah, I
God, I
think
don't know
once
these
upon a
phones,
time.
and I don't know when these things went off.
Yeah,
I'm
Lenovo
literally
putting
just
out
like, yeah.
phones. Lenovo putting out phones used to be the only thing I would cover at a IFA if LG
Are
had
you
nothing to share.
serious?
Yeah, if LG was quiet during an IFA, it was all Lenovo phones, and their booth at IFA would have like a dozen phones, and like
Okay,
four of them were all
I just
different
wanted to
versions.
mention this because you mentioned LG, but like I am so excited for their new phones.
Oh, the
Everybody's been
Valve.
going. Everybody's been
Yeah, the
going crazy
Velvet.
about the name though.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. Like for someone like me, I would gravitate towards a phone called Velvet versus whatever phone name you have.
I swear,
Yeah.
LG
Makes
better
sense.
have their marketing on point for that phone. There better be like a commercial where like someone's basically spraying perfume on the velvet and like it's got to
Yeah,
be.
but I mean, it's looking like that's the direction they're going. So I'm
Yes.
like,
Well,
I like that. Like every time a phone manufacturer goes that direction, I like that because one, I feel very seen. And two, like usually when marketing is like that, I expect a phone that sort of gets me too, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I have an Edge Plus question for you, Jivan. So obviously, I'm the only one in this call who's actually spent time with it, but just basing it off of the spec sheet alone, because you know the details. Are you disappointed that a phone like this is supposed to be a flagship device? 18-watt charging. Like, aren't you spoiled by faster charging by now? I find this to be a disappointment.
for me, not really. Just because we're talking about how long a phone can actually last, and
Mm,
a lot of times, like dealing with a lot of my friends and family, the first thing that tends to go south is the battery.
Hmm.
And
True.
to be very honest, fast charging does not do anything for the battery. If anything, it handicaps the battery even more just because of the amount of charge you're pushing into the battery at any given time.
That's fair.
So
Yeah.
when you're talking about a flagship, for me, it's about the user experience, the features that it brings aside from fast charging. And I think the Moto has so far, on paper, been a really good all rounder. Plus, they have brownie points for the 3.5 millimeter jack.
True. Right here on the top,
Yeah.
which I have to say, like I'm still. I get it. There are people who look at it and they're all like instant buy, and and then
Yeah.
they realize the palm rejection's not as good as it should be. That's what happens on a waterfall display. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but yeah, like these are trade-offs that you have, and I give them a lot of credit. Like there's a lot to like about this device, but again, not to give any spoilers for my ultimate review happening on Pocket Now, there are a few pieces of the puzzle that are still missing. So you can see how I might frame that video,
Yeah.
but I like that Moto is actually trying to provide this kind of experience. It does differentiate them a little bit. They may not be marketing enough of this display, if you ask me, because whenever any Asian brands, especially out in Asia, because I've been to a bunch of events, a bunch of announcements for those phones, it's a big deal. But for this,
Dude,
I haven't really
yeah.
heard much of a peep.
Yep. I think in
Yeah.
Asia we don't know which markets are getting it. So in Motorola's press release, they just said that the Edge is coming to Europe,
Yeah.
Australia, and then Asia Pacific, but no specifics on which countries. Nothing.
Yeah. Um, all right. I'm actually looking through the chat a little bit over here.
Yeah. So do you think that after Motorola being in the mid range for so long, especially in markets like the US where they have been there for so long, does the $1,000 price tag actually affect their offerings,
I
especially
think
with
that I think that any price point around that number is going to be affected no matter what, just based upon just this era that we're living in right now.
Mhm.
But if without quarantine era, without all of this stuff going on right now, I would say from a consumer standpoint, a Moto device is just not quite as appealing as the other brands. And it has to come down to, like some people in the chat were saying, it comes down to marketing, like they would say about LG. Like marketing is key, especially in this part of the world. But I will say this: the reason why Moto will never be away from us, it will never go away, is because they have such entrenched deals with carriers like Verizon and AT&T. They will always have, especially Verizon, like especially. It's because of Moto and Verizon that the word droid became popular in the first place. So I don't think Moto is ever going to be going away. Would I strongly recommend this phone compared to like a S20 Plus or like a OnePlus 8? That if someone were to ask me that, my first question would be, are you on Verizon? And if they're on Verizon, then I would have to help them actually look through it and give them a real like side by side comparison, because Moto Edge Plus so far is a pretty compelling offer, but you got to be on Verizon.
I just want
Or
to add in to the conversation that it's so interesting how, like, you'd think a phone and its specs and whoever's using it, like, would be such a solid factual conversation. But as you can see now, it's all contextual. Like, it depends where you are, what you want, what offering in your region has. So it's just a very interesting thing.
so like in Malaysia, buying phones with carriers has only just like started picking up, just because it's kind of like taking a microloan from the carriers and
Mm-hmm.
you're paying a monthly amount instead of giving a whole chunk of your earnings at one go. But at the same time, we have a huge percentage of our population who would just rather do a one-off purchase and live with it.
It's
And
interesting you say that because I have never gotten a phone off, like, from not a carrier. That makes sense. Everyone in my household buys phones from a carrier. At some point, we had like more than five plans because we always get phones from carriers.
Mhm.
So like this is actually my first phone with a carrier.
Mm.
Before this, I had the Note 5, which I
Uh-huh.
actually lined up for the launch at like 3 a.m.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so that was one. And then before that, I had the Note 3, which I bought with my first paycheck. No
On the
carrier
o-
plans.
on the other hand, I have just stopped subscribing to like phone lines because I was like, okay, it's not worth it if you do the math. I'm spending more for it. So my last phone, which I actually bought, the one before I started reviewing phones, was an iPhone 6S,
Oh,
and I
nice.
actually bought it. Wait, did I or did I get it from a carrier? I can't remember.
So, like
Wait.
Darren has said that one of the factors of why people are buying with carriers in Malaysia is because prices are getting out of hand in Malaysia.
Oh yeah.
The Galaxy
Ah.
S20 Ultra is nearly 6,000 ringgit.
Oh my god. Okay, it's hard for me to take any conversation about the Ultra seriously at this point because like when the Ultra was first announced and we first got our hands on it, it is still an exciting device. That is very much 100% true. But once any other phone was released after the S20 Ultra, you're just like, oh boy, like
Yep.
this is a really hard sell now because how often, like, who's on Safari? Who needs 100 times zoom? Like, who? And you wouldn't even use that phone for Safari. I mean, come on. Like, you take a picture of the moon one time, and that feature collects dust. But the S20 Plus is a far more compelling alternative to the Ultra, especially since every phone that's come after the S20 Ultra is at the price of the S20 Plus.
Yep. So I think Isa brought this up in her previous appearance on the Tech and Tonic podcast. We
Well,
have seen this super zoom in Asia
yeah,
for so long,
yeah.
and
So it's like, yeah.
it's funny how Samsung doing it makes it such a must-have feature
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I literally have like so many phones here, and I don't have the Samsung Ultra. Okay, I have so many phones here right now that can do like the same thing or probably a better like zoom than that phone.
I wish that there was a way that we could just like teleport devices to one another, me and Issa, because
Oh my god, yeah.
she has a handful of devices that I will never touch, and I have a bunch of devices here that she may or may not get from the companies, like the
Mhm.
S20 Ultra, for
Yeah,
example. She got the Z Flip, which
yeah.
is great, but in my case, it's like I know that you mentioned earlier, I'll never get these Huawei devices that we're about to talk about. I will never get my hands on those. Like I've never held a Realme. Oh, no, I have. I've held one Realme and I've never held a
You
Nova.
have a Realme.
I do have one. It's in the office. That's the only one I've ever held. But I've never held a
Yeah,
Nova. Yeah. So they're very rare for
Oh,
me to
I
be
wish
able
I
to
had a
actually use.
video so I could show you the really cute Nova 7i. I don't have the 7.
the 7i for us is with Darwin. He has the green
Ah.
one.
I have the gradient one. Ooh,
Ooh, that's actually quite pretty. So
Yeah,
I think
pull it up to
yeah.
the camera, Issa. Put it up to the
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Can't you see? Oh my god.
so I think our conversation has brought up a very valid question. So do we choose between flagships or affordability? Because I personally, for me, the only reason I got this was the S Pen, and if there is a more affordable, well-rounded package, I think I would go for it.
Mm.
I
But
think it's
you
also
need the S Pen? Is that what you're saying? Like you need it, or
Yeah,
would you be willing to go away with it
he
for a
likes
more
the S
affordable
Pen.
general phone?
I love the S Pen. So
There you
I
go.
used an S9 for a year. I think when I met you guys in Taiwan, I was still using the S9, I think. Or was it was a different or it might have been a different phone without the S Pen.
Mm.
But I do so much note taking, drawing, and
And
stuff like that.
selfies. And selfies. Selfies, remote selfies.
Remote selfies.
Yeah. So I can't live without the S Pen. Like signing documents for our company and stuff like that. I do it on the note.
Okay. And you know what?
Oh, funny
You had
comment.
me at draw. Very jealous of you. I've been talking about how much I want to get into sketching and drawing, but I have no skill whatsoever with that. And I agree with you. If I actually was good at it in any stretch of the imagination, I would probably love the S Pen that much too.
I
There's a funny
I have no
comment from
talent in drawing.
David.
So, I didn't mean to shine a light on that. I'm sorry.
Nah. But
Sorry,
I
what was Issa trying to say? Sorry.
Oh no, there's just a funny comment from David Kogan in the chat. He goes like 100 times zoom is trash. Like 5x is good and 10x is decent, but above that, oil painting.
yeah, I have to agree though.
True.
I have to agree. I'm waiting to review the S20 Ultra. So when it comes to Malaysia, the companies have actually finally just said, screw it. We are going to start sending devices out for reviews anyways. Because our MCO is just getting extended in a 2 week increment. It's been like 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Yeah, every week we're getting a 2 week increment. So it's a lot of uncertainty for a lot of people.
Yeah, indeed. That would be the number one reason why affordability is so important now. And you know what? Like there's nothing lucky about the situation we're in. But I guess the phrasing I'll use is that we're lucky to live in a period of time right now in tech where the affordable parts are actually actually good. They're actually good. Like a Snapdragon
Yeah.
765, a cheap 813 Bionic, which I mean people are saying is underclocked, but I'll tell you something. Last 2.5 days of using the iPhone SE, I haven't seen any problems with performance whatsoever. Played a couple of games, I've been in the camera, it's fine. And if it's underclocked, like, okay, great, like, cool, but do you actually see problems with it? So far, me, not really. I've had, I think, Instagram f up on me like one time. That was really the only time that I saw that.
But I mean, it's also a valid point that Instagram integration is way better on iPhones than any Android phone. Like that is a fact.
I
But
agree.
Instagram just works
I
better.
agree. Minus Samsung. Samsung's integration of Instagram, because they've worked so closely together at this point, is a little bit.
Mhm.
It's better than it used to be. It's not as good as iPhone. You're right, but
I
it's better than it
mean,
used to.
sure, but I mean, remember that chat with my friend who doesn't get phones? She was legit like, I need a new phone. This phone's front facing camera has been broken for months and it's dying on me, but I cannot not have an iPhone, mostly because she's always on Instagram.
yeah,
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
but Instagram in general has been buggy the past few releases. So I just had it crash like 4 times on my Note 10 Plus, and then I jumped to the Galaxy Z Flip, and it did the exact same thing.
Oh, why do you have to
I
prove me
love the
wrong on
Z
my Samsung thing?
Flip.
Just was saying it's fine on Samsung. Come on, man.
So
So
so Darren said that, wait, was that Darren? Justice says that in the US, all recent and near future phone releases are irrelevant to the general consumer because of what Apple has released.
yeah, I think that is
Yeah,
pretty
that's what I
much
mean.
the truth for everyone,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
it
mhm.
suddenly Apple is competing in a market which they've ignored for technically the whole of their existence. And
I
we
mhm.
have compelling Android devices, but I don't think many of them are competing on that level.
See, that's the reason why I make the distinction of the carrier user. I don't just call them general users, they're carrier users. Because in order for you to actually go beyond what Apple presents and markets and think about these other phones that are their competitors, I'm not even talking about price point right now. I'm talking about just in general. To know that other phones exist, you need to either be that's like your 5% of being a tech enthusiast because you actually do a little bit of research, and or you're the kind of person who walks into a carrier store and you get to see the spread of all the other devices. Other than that, though, for general populace here in the US, the fact that Apple said $399 iPhone is going to be the headline for the next 2 to 3 years. Even if any other Android phone hits $399, maybe the Pixel 4a if it's able to market properly, maybe a Samsung A51. But even then, the Samsung A51 is in stores. But how often have people like me, US citizens, heard about it? Not at all.
Yeah.
I
think
only know
Isa
about the
was trying to
A51
say
because I
something.
work in this industry. That's my point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Isa
Well,
was
I
trying to
think
say something.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think it's still no, fine. I think it's still oh my god, I can't say anything. I can't be on video and now I can't speak. I think it's also again contextual because for example, that iPhone SE 3, how much is it? So in the Philippines, one, it's gonna be $100 more expensive for the base, like that alone. So it retails for around 26,000 pesos. That is worth almost like a mid-range phone. And right now we're getting like Realme phones with like what? How much is it? $200? So 10,000 pesos, less than 10,000 pesos. So no matter what you say, like here, it's still not a cheap phone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
So it's
think
gonna be like, even if you wanted the iPhone, you're gonna spend like the least amount of money for what, 3, 4 cameras on the back.
yeah. So like I think that is the same truth in Malaysia because comparatively we have a lot of offerings from people like Oppo, Realme,
Mm-hmm.
Xiaomi, and all these other brands who have been thriving in that category for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
that's
hands
not
down,
something
it's
that's not
been
something we've had here ever. Like
yeah.
I can tell you right now that Pixel 4a comes out, and until Samsung finally starts marketing their A line more, the only alternative that I've seen recently to the iPhone SE is the Moto G Power and the Moto G Stylus. Both phones, which for $250 or $299, depending on which one you pick, I would still say try to get the iPhone SE.
I mean, like I said, we all know that the iPhone SE, based on Apple's track record, will be a very capable phone, and it's amazing that they have it at that price point. But the reality of it is that price point is still double or even more the price of what you could pay for a capable phone, at least in Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think let's move on to how are we working during our quarantine. So things have been crazy for us.
Best
Oh.
non sequitur I've ever witnessed in my life. I love that. That's the best. Before we
I
get to that, though,
mean,
actually, one thing I do want to say, and it is here, I'll help you segue. We have a few people in the chat right now, Jivan, that I think
Mhm.
you'd love to know are in there. We said Nick Gray, editor in chief of Fandroid. We also have
yes,
one of GSM Arena's top YouTubers, Enrique Villacrez,
yes.
is in there. And like we
Nice.
said, David Kogan is the unlocker. We have a few other prolific YouTubers in the in the chat right now.
Thanks for joining us, guys. I feel very nervous suddenly.
It's okay. The fact that we're all working from home, and I can tell you right now, I'm not wearing pants. I'm wearing shorts. Like,
What?
like we're all like, this is a level playing field, even for the people who are in the chat.
Yeah. I'm turning
And
off
on
my
that
ring
note,
light because I turned on my lighting because I thought I'd be on video, but I'm not. So
yeah, this is what home is like. This is the work from home lifestyle. This is the quarantine era, as I keep calling it. So this is what it's like. Yeah, I have my light on actually. Like you would never see me in this like environment. This light is only on because this camera is on. So
Yeah, I have my table light on because of the video call. Otherwise, it would be off as
Mhm.
well. But I think when it comes to us, we're shooting review videos, review pictures, we're reviewing cameras on phones. How has that been like? Just dealing with being cooped up at home.
Well, let's have since we have Daniel Bader, who is an editor at Central here, Jiba.
hi.
Hello.
You got such a dope audience right now, man. In the chat, I mean, anybody that wants to like throw any one of our homies who wants to throw in some thoughts about how they are doing their work from home lifestyle and whatnot. Honestly, like, okay, we as creators, and Issa has been in this whole. Issa, you've been into this particular style of the work that we do for the last like 2 years, tops
Mhm.
2 years. In my case, it's been since 2011, 2012. So I've been doing this for a long time. We're kind of oddly well equipped for what
Yeah.
this era has thrown at
Yeah.
us. I made a joke earlier that to my parents, I live here in my family home. I made a joke to my parents that it feels like I'm at Android Authority again, because the first few years that I was there, everything. I didn't have an office. I do now, but I'm not going to it because safer at home. But
You better not. I'm kidding.
I talk about going to my office all the time. It's literally just square foot office. But even then, she's like, no, don't even go outside. Don't get anywhere near people. She was the one who told me that. What if you're walking? She knows what my office looks like. There's a stairwell that goes up to it. It's like, what if someone's walking down that stairwell and just that one time that one person's there, they cough right next to you?
No,
I was
it's
just like,
true.
and I get it, which is why for the last like solid month, I haven't stepped foot in my office, not one time. And it's a little odd, but that's what I mean. Like the first few years of me being at Android Authority, this is what it was like. This background was what everyone knew in my videos. This particular background, my backyard, my front porch, like all my videos on here on JV and on Pocket now, it looks like a classic JV video now.
I'm just thankful that we have like 8 dogs and my mom garden. I know it's the same for Joshua because his mom also has a lovely garden. Like it's literally what I talk to with his mom a lot too. So it's like I'm happy that there are things like that that allow us to, have subjects for our photos.
Yeah, so I think for me the biggest change is not having anywhere to go and be like, okay, I need to do this photo shoot. I need to do this.
Yes. Oh.
And
Mhm.
for me, I like to get places which are relatively set up. So I go to cafes, things like that. So it's easy to
Yes, me
just
too.
take and snap.
And you know
And
what? From what I
Yeah.
hear, cafe culture out where you are, G, amazing. It's a great cafe culture in your
yeah,
area. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
it kind of hard to get like the shots that you need. Like even for the Z Flip, I want to do a few shots outside. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking whether I should actually just walk down the road and take a few shots and come back in. But yeah, and I agree with the unlocker. It's a lot of work to do. We have so many reviews piling up right now.
Yeah,
So
we
we've
do.
been because companies have finally said, okay, this lockdown is something that will be a reality for the foreseeable future. It is no point for us to actually like wait it out. Even the TV in
Oh.
the background, that is actually a review unit from here.
Oh my god.
They
Right,
gave it
so
to us
okay.
right before the lockdown, and I had to bring it back to review it.
So moment of gratitude though, this is a very Joshua thing to say. But moment of gratitude because I remember working at Gadget Match and me saying, okay, traffic is so bad. I want to learn how to do everything by myself so I can do it at home. You know?
Mhm.
So I'm happy that now I know how to do everything myself and at home because I actually made it a point to learn it.
Yeah,
But
and
right now I'm
she's been doing a fantastic job. Like I've
oh
been to her,
thanks.
and I can see like how she set. I can tell just by the shots in the videos how she set up that particular area of her house.
Yeah. But but
Yeah.
it's also because there are so many people now who are forced to work at home when they usually work with a team.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
can imagine how nerve-wracking that would be because once upon a time that was me, you know? I mean, people have been getting creative and that's great. And I've been seeing a lot of like interesting and fun and impressive video from people who normally have a team to shoot with. But like I can imagine what's going on in the background because it's really a leap.
Yeah, it is.
Eh,
And then this, what we're doing right now, I mean, minus you, Issa, because we can't see your face, but this is how people are working right now. Like, and this
yeah.
is, I have
Yeah.
friends who work in labs they're not medical, so that they can't
Oh, is
go
this your
to their
friend who's a
labs.
scientist? Because he's pretty cool. He's a
Kyle, yeah,
scientist.
my homie up
Yeah.
in best
He's a
friend from high
scientist.
school. He's straight
Yeah.
up like he works in physics, and
Yeah.
he has to do tests in a lab, and you can't do
It's
that
cool.
remotely.
Yeah.
So there's just no way to do that.
Even my friend who's doing his PhD, he's stuck running to the lab back and forth in
Oh
Australia.
man.
Oh,
Yep.
that's
And I think this question might set Isa off a bit. What are your
Mhm.
must-haves for tech when it comes to working from home?
Ooh.
Oh, well, a
8
laptop.
dogs.
Okay, for context, guys, so my laptop broke down like what? Was it the other day or yesterday?
It was
So
the other day.
yeah, it feels like forever. It's weird. But yeah, a laptop. I can't even get one. I'm stuck on that. But a good pair of headphones. Joshua gave me these Sony headphones, which I have been using. They're very comfy.
Mark threes.
Yeah.
The classic. Well, those would be the earbuds. I gave her the
Yep.
case on yours. Like I haven't got one. The over ear ones.
Yeah, yeah.
The WF. Was it F? No.
No,
WH.
WH.
Yep.
WH. Well, I don't know. There are a lot of letters. Sony should fix that. So it's basically for me, it's laptop, earphones. I don't know, a ring light.
How about you, Josh?
I mean, so for work from home, like okay, obviously a camera, but the reason why I bring that up is because my GH5, which is considered like the workhorse camera, it's definitely like the studio production camera and whatnot. I don't know if anybody ever even realizes in my videos that I haven't used that in over a month because that's the camera I left in my office and now I'm not going to my office. So I'm actually using a really small, like almost entry level, let's say mid range Olympus OMD EM5. It's not even their top of the line EM1. This is just a tiny micro four thirds camera, and I've been using this for every one of my videos recently, and I don't think anyone's even noticed.
I don't
So
think
I'm over here
anyone knows
like,
that.
yeah, well, but the thing is, I'm over here like I'm managing to still do the work that I want to do at a level that I'm happy with,
Mhm.
without needing to have like $1 billion like dollars worth of my equipment that I might have in my office. So
But
I've been able to figure out
that
ways of Isa.
but that's also that talks about your level of artistry. Oh. But I mean, my point is, you know how to use a camera, and that factors in.
Yeah.
Oh sure, for sure. And I know my, like I always tell people, like what's the first thing I have to know about video making or photography or whatever the case may be. My first rule is always know your machine. Like you have to know
Yeah, this is
every little feature of your camera so you can take advantage of it. There are a lot of people out there who don't realize that the results that they want are actually possible with their camera. They just didn't take the time to learn how to
Yeah,
find it.
this is
Yeah.
actually something I learned from Joshua. Like it's literally the difference between night and day when you shoot. Like knowing how to use your camera. I mean,
Mhm.
funny story, like for example, the recorder that he lent me, I've always just plugged it in and recorded on it. And then I switched to a mic me, which was easier for me, but that thing broke. And I'm like, I'm sad because I can't get the type of audio that I wanted. It turns out like this recorder is pretty powerful. All it took was one YouTube video that explained what it could do to me.
Wait, this is
It's
the
like,
H5, H1, right?
H1,
is
yeah.
that the one I was
This
tweeting
is
about? Yeah.
so you're using, yeah, that's the H5. Great little thing. The
Oh, I didn't know it was a
H1N,
great little thing.
well, for Issa, the H1N that I gave her,
Uh-huh.
it can work as an audio interface to a computer. The original
Yep.
H1 can't do that, but the H1N can. So that was when she realized, like, oh, I do have an audio interface to
Yeah.
use. So that
Yeah.
was the thing. But other than that, I mean, just my essentials. I mean, that would probably be my number one thing. Like, I've been in this situation before where you have to you have a bit of a scare. In this case, it's a pandemic, but in 2016 there was actually a wildfire that raged right outside this window, and it was
Uh,
the entire mountain was engulfed in flames. So we were
Nice.
told to start gathering our essentials in the case that we were evacuated. We were not evacuated, but we were told
That's
that if you
scary.
yeah, we were told that if you have another place to go, it's probably a good idea to do that because at least you have a place to go. We don't have to open up like a rec center for evacuees. We're like, oh, okay, we have good friends who live at the bottom of the hill where I live, so we just went to stay with them for a couple of nights. So that was fine. But then I packed up my car with my computer tower, which had all of the footage I was working on, and of course I was using my camera, and those were like the top two things that I had. I need this to record it, and I need this to edit it. And those were the two essentials I needed. Everything else is extra. I need the essentials, which is the two things that allows me to still be on YouTube and make money. So
So quick tangent, because you said if something happened, how would you pack up your essentials? You know, I think about that a lot, but in the context of our what, 8 dogs. There are 5 of us in the family. There are 8 dogs. One's really big, and the rest are tiny. But then you can't bring 2 dogs at the same time because they might fight. So it's sort of like a puzzle. Which dog do you carry so that they don't fight? Who takes like 2 dogs? Like literally, I think about that and I lose sleep over that.
So like for me, I think my
by the
essentials
way, my video is going to cut out for a second while I change the battery. Again, like I said, I'm
No.
using a mid-range
Oh
camera.
no.
So
so like for
Jivan,
me,
it's you.
uh this has been one of my essentials, the Razer Atheris, the
What's that?
H5. It's a mouse by Razer, and it's a lot more
Ooh.
sensitive than a lot of wireless mouses out there.
Uh-huh.
I've been shooting video on my Note 10 Plus,
Nice.
and the Sony I have in for review, the Sony Xperia 5.
oh, you have
Uh,
the Xperia 5.
yep.
Oh, someone's
Oh,
excited.
we have no Sonys here in the US whatsoever.
Neither do
It's a
we.
shame. Oh, that's a beautiful. Look how yeah, look that's a very slender phone. Like the only phone
Yeah.
that gets close to that right now is the Moto Edge Plus.
Yeah, and it
I
feels so
think
good in hand. And the fact that I can do 5K plus 4K video with no
Mhm.
problem. And the footage is really nice. Uh
it's
the only
very
thing
like
yep.
narrow phones are underrated. I just want to say, as someone who has tiny hands, like narrow phones, like it helps.
Yeah, so like the only thing I have a problem with for this is the fact that the camera can't be on for too long. It overheats. But that's the same thing
Oh.
with the Note 10 Plus if you're shooting at 4K.
Mm. Well,
Oh,
yeah,
and
they
also,
usually have some
Jivan,
sort of limit.
Yep.
and also another thing that me and Joshua noticed is that like in hotter climates, phones really have a higher, like a bigger tendency to overheat. Because
Yeah.
he was just like, my phones are going crazy when he was in Manila.
Yeah, my Pixel 4 or Pixel 3a, my Pixel 3a was just bugging. And it was that phone and the Zenfone 6, which is still probably my favorite phone from last year, bar none. But it was those two phones that I was using to vlog a lot of what we were doing. So those phones were actually, because it was so hot in the climates that we were in, every time I was just in the middle of trying to do something, it would just like it would be slow. Like it's the only time that I actually notice a phone being slow is when it's hot.
Yeah. It happens a lot, I think, in our climates, Isa.
Yeah, I agree. And it's
So,
like sometimes when it happens, I think about how I'm like, I try to be fair with the phone. Because
mhm.
it's like, if you say it turns hot when you do this, you have to realize, like, am I out shooting on a hot day? Because if so, there probably might be a reason for that. And I can't be all like, yeah, it heats up when I shoot. If I'm shooting at like what, 40-degree weather? Because then people from other countries would be like, well, it's heating up. And you're like, dude, I'm heating up. You know?
Yeah. So I think we're hitting about an hour. Whoops. So what
Ooh.
what are we looking forward to this week aside from possibly going outside?
Um, I, well, I am still waiting on the Huawei Media Pad, which is So at first I was like, this thing might be cool, but I don't really have use for it. But now that I don't have a laptop and I've just switched my workflow to typing up whole scripts, I am really looking forward to getting that thing. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Has the media pad for us, so he's
How
reviewing
is
it.
it?
He's
I'm
loving it.
curious.
He's loving it. Aside from the fact that it doesn't have Google services.
Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah.
But yeah.
Oh yeah. Even the media pad would be affected by that. That's true. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. I always
But I
just keep
mean,
thinking
like,
of the phones.
but if you think about it, like for example, if I'm gonna type on my Google Doc, it's a browser, right? The same way I
Yeah,
do so on my laptop.
true. But it's like missing your exit on the freeway. Like, oh, like it's not it's not going the way I want to. It's not the route wasn't right. So it's just one of the it's one of those adjustments that I feel like most people won't care as much, but the people who do care, it's an
Will
adjustment.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
They
Yeah.
will
yeah.
care.
Yeah,
Like you ever try to
that's a
watch
good way of putting it.
you ever try to watch YouTube in a browser, like the mobile app, the mobile browser version on a phone? It's really frustrating to be honest, because so many features just don't work. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the media pad. I mean just tablets in general are always. I don't know. They're still very foreign to me. Like I've never owned an iPad, and when the new iPad came out, I thought about buying it, but I didn't go for it. Um, as far as this week is concerned, honestly, just getting through my iPhone SE content because I'm actually having a blast using this phone. This phone, more so than ever, a phone that makes you feel like it's 2016, makes you wish it actually was 2016 again.
Does it bother you at all having that smaller screen?
A little bit, I have to say, like not to the point where I would say it takes away from the experience. It's an
Mhm.
adjustment for sure. It is an adjustment, and I don't care about how big the screen is because the handling is so good. Like this is seriously the smallest phone that I've used recently. But yeah, like I will admit that when I'm trying to play a game, it's kind of close. Like this.
Wait.
So,
Wait, David has a good point though. I didn't realize this. Google Docs requires GMS and will only let you view and not edit in the browser. Is
good
that
point.
for
Yeah,
Yeah.
real?
yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. Okay. That makes me
Thi-
sad.
this is why we actually moved to Microsoft 365.
I was just about to say
Ah.
that would be the
Yeah.
optimum.
So
Um,
I think we need to wrap up so that
okay.
we can at least we can wrap up the actual podcast section. We can go on YouTube for however long we want. So
No. Let's go for another hour and get the watch time up.
Hey, okay. That happened to me. Like that, I legit did that a week ago.
so where can people find you guys on the internet?
Isa first.
You can find me on youtube.com/IsaDasTech. Watch my last review because it took me a laptop, a mental breakdown, and like crying to finish that. No, but all kidding aside, yeah, that's youtube.com/IsaDasTech and then at Sisa said on Instagram, Twitter, and even TikTok, but I just lurk.
All right. We were joking earlier about the work voice coming in. Here it comes. The outros are always one to happen. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can follow everything that I'm up to, including the iPhone SE, which the review should be coming out a little bit later this week. We did talk about the Moto Edge Plus earlier. I'm working on that over at Pocket Now, so you can also follow what I'm doing there at youtube.com/Pocket Now. My social media handles are at JVTechT, because you know me, I'm JV. I love tech and I love to drink me some tea.
So
That really sounded like I was watching a video.
yeah, you guys can follow TechEnt at TechEnt TV everywhere. We're even on LinkedIn, so we're on Twitter,
Whoa.
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Whichever social media pops up, aside from TikTok for now, we will probably end up there. And if you've missed our live stream, you can actually check out our recording, which will be on Spotify and all the podcasting platforms out there. We're on Anchor, Breakup, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So that's about all the time we have for this week. It's been really fun having you guys on the podcast, and thank you everybody for joining us in the comments as well.
Yay!
Okay, we're done with the recording, so now we can go crazy.
Question for you. You mentioned all of those services for the podcast. Which one is your host?
So we post on Anchor mostly.
Gotcha. Do you use the free tier or are you paying at all?
Right now we're using the free tier.
Okay, because Issa and I are working on a project that we're working on a podcast, and
Yeah.
to start
if I
out, I'm
get my
thinking,
laptop working.
yeah. So I was thinking that we would start off with Anchor just to keep the cost low, because TechENT is on Simplecast, and I adore it. I love Simplecast already, but yeah, Anchor being free, like that's just going to be better for us. How do we stop the Inui caster, by the way?
Just shut it down.
Just close the tab
yeah.
or close the window. Okay.
Yep. So I'm gonna end our YouTube live stream. Or do you guys want to hang out on YouTube a little bit more?
Up to you guys.
Yeah, up to you. I'm cool.
I think we can hang out a little bit more, but yeah.
Probably not
Like-
a whole hour, huh?
Yeah. Probably about 20 minutes, 30 minutes at most.
Sure.
Oh, so what you mean is we're still on a live stream, but as far as like, are you posting
Podcast.
the cut
Yeah.
hour on its
Yep.
own?
Yep.
Oh, I
That's
see
the
what you
way
did.
to go. Yeah, that's the way
So-
to go.
So like what we usually do is we try to keep it within about 30 minutes because that's that's literally the time it takes for us to go from anywhere in KL to the other point.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's very good
Well-
insight from Jivan.
Yeah, indeed. And now you know when you have me and Issa on, it's not going to be half an hour.
Mhm.
But we
Like I
have
said,
people
Go on.
actually listening to the episodes that are more than an hour. So more than an hour, more than 40 minutes at this point.
Mm.
I mean,
Well-
especially in this lockdown era, like you just need socials, whether it be like a podcast or a call,
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I know people right now who are using platforms like Discord to start stuff like this, where, well, now that I know there's video involved, but like you can have a video of yourself. I could literally do this. Let me do this. I'll just point it like this.
What?
And so this is my setup over here. There are people who have this setup and they're just working. And this is what it is the entire time. So that you get the feeling of someone working with
Wait,
you or next to you.
wait. That was my Twitch idea.
Yeah.
My Twitch idea. Working alone together.
Yeah, and there are people doing it in live chats, not necessarily on Twitch, but in live chats. I don't know. They're probably doing it on Twitch. On Twitch, it's called IRL. That's what that
I
channel is
mean-
called.
Yep.
I do it, except I don't have a laptop. So.
That's true. So yeah, if Issa had a camera pointing at her, where it was just her like this, you have a glimpse into what my relationship with her is like.
Oh my God. So, Jivan, when I said I know I've heard the mechanical keyboard way too many times, it's because Joshua wakes me up. And then, so if I'm not like getting up, he sort of just hangs around and tries to like wake me up, but he wants to be productive too. So he works during the time that he's on the call with me. And then he starts typing. And he is a noisy typer. So it's like, I won't wake up because of him calling, but I eventually wake up because his typing annoys me. It's something.
It's very true.
But even my keyboard, actually both Darwin and my keyboard in the office, when we start typing, it sounds like people are going to war on a keyboard.
Yeah. The first time I
Yeah.
ever got a mechanical keyboard in the house, my brother called it gunshots. He was like, there's a
Yup.
machine gun going off in Josh's room because
Yup.
like Yeah. So that's pretty much what it is. And I have like a 100 per minute like typing speed. So it's pretty fast. Weird flex, but okay.
Okay, I think I can
I mean,
end our live stream because everybody has been signing out. Hold on.
Oh, sure.
yay, bye guys.
See you guys.
Yay.
Oh, that's